In 1603, a new royal family arrived on England's throne, the Stuarts. For the first time, England and Scotland were united under one ruler. The Stuart age brought discovery, learning, and progress, but also challenges in politics and belief that reshaped the nation. This is the story of the Stuarts, a century of transformation that guided Britain toward the modern world. When Queen Elizabeth I died without an heir, the throne passed to her cousin, James VI of Scotland, who became James I of England. This union of the crowns brought two historically rival kingdoms together under a single monarch. James was a practical ruler, keen to foster peace after the tensions of the late Tudor era. He was also a great patron of the arts and sciences, encouraging a cultural flourishing that continued the momentum of the Renaissance. Exploration was also a priority, with English settlements beginning to take root in North America. Perhaps his most enduring legacy was his sponsorship of a new English translation of the Bible, published in 1611. The King James Bible was a monumental achievement of scholarship and literature. Its beautiful, poetic language profoundly shaped the English language itself and became a cornerstone of culture and faith for centuries to come. However, James's reign wasn't without friction. He held a strong belief in the divine right of kings, the idea that his authority came directly from God and could not be challenged. This put him at odds with a parliament that was growing in confidence and wanted more say in the running of the country. Debates over royal power, finances, and religious practice began to simmer, creating undercurrents of discontent that would erupt more forcefully in the next reign. Upon James I's death, his son Charles I ascended the throne. Charles shared, and perhaps even exceeded, his father's belief in the absolute power of the monarchy. He saw Parliament not as a partner in governance, but as a body that existed to grant him funds. This fundamental disagreement set the stage for a dramatic and ultimately tragic confrontation. Members of Parliament, particularly the growing Puritan faction, were increasingly insistent on having greater influence over taxation and religious policy. They challenged Charles E's right to raise money without their consent and resisted his attempts to impose a more formal, ritualistic form of Anglican worship, which they viewed as too close to Catholicism. The tensions mounted year by year. Charles, frustrated by Parliament's opposition, tried to rule without it for 11 years, a period known as the Personal Rule. But this only deepened the divisions. The kingdom became polarized, split between those who supported the king's authority and those who championed the rights of Parliament. Eventually, these deep-seated differences over how England should be governed could no longer be resolved through debate. The country spiraled into a devastating civil war, a painful period that pitted neighbor against neighbor and family against family, forcing everyone to choose a side. After years of brutal conflict, the forces of Parliament emerged victorious, and King Charles I was captured, tried, and ultimately executed in 1649, an event that shocked all of Europe. England embarked on a radical new political experiment, a republic known as the Commonwealth. For the first time in centuries, the nation was governed without a king. The dominant figure of this period was Oliver Cromwell, a brilliant military commander and devout Puritan who was named Lord Protector. The Commonwealth government focused on strengthening trade, building up the navy, and promoting learning. However, it was also a time of significant social change and restriction. Guided by Puritan beliefs, the government closed theaters, banned festive celebrations like Christmas, and imposed a strict moral code on public life. While some saw this as a period of virtuous reform, many others found it dreary and oppressive. The experience of the Commonwealth was a powerful lesson for the nation. It demonstrated the complexities of governing and taught the importance of finding a balance between strong leadership and the representation of the people's will. After Cromwell's death, the Republican government faltered, and the nation began to long for a return to stability and tradition. In 1660, the monarchy made a triumphant return. Charles II, the son of the executed king, was invited back from exile and welcomed with widespread celebration and relief. This event, known as the Restoration, marked the end of the stern Puritan era and ushered in a new age of liveliness and creativity. Charles II himself was known as the Merry Monarch for his witty, charming, and pleasure-loving personality. His court was glamorous and sophisticated, a stark contrast to the austerity of the Commonwealth. The arts and sciences, suppressed for over a decade, experienced a spectacular revival. Theaters reopened, producing brilliant new comedies, and London society buzzed with energy. This period also saw immense challenges, most notably the Great Plague of 1665 and the Great Fire of London in 1666, which devastated the capital. Yet from the ashes a new, more modern London was built, with grander designs by architects like Christopher Wren. It was also an era of intellectual advancement. Charles II granted a royal charter to a group of leading scientists, officially creating the Royal Society. This institution, dedicated to advancing knowledge through experiment and observation, became a hub of innovation, with members like Isaac Newton and Robert Hooke making discoveries that would change the world. When Charles II died without a legitimate heir, the crown passed to his younger brother, James II. James was a dedicated ruler, but his reign proved to be short and fraught with difficulty. The main source of conflict was his Catholic faith in a predominantly Protestant nation. Many in England feared that James would try to impose his religion on the country and rule with the same absolute authority that had led his father, Charles I, to disaster. These concerns intensified when James's wife gave birth to a son, raising the prospect of a permanent Catholic dynasty on the English throne. Unwilling to risk another civil war, a group of influential political and religious leaders took a decisive step. They secretly invited William of Orange, the Protestant ruler of the Netherlands, to come to England with an army. William was married to James's own Protestant daughter, Mary, giving him a strong claim to the throne. In 1688, William landed in England, and James too, finding his support had vanished, fled the country. This peaceful transfer of power, with almost no bloodshed, became known as the Glorious Revolution. It was a pivotal moment, establishing the principle that a monarch could not govern without the consent of Parliament, and laying the permanent foundation for the constitutional monarchy that guides Britain to this day. William and Mary were crowned as joint monarchs, a unique arrangement in British history. They ruled together, sharing power and working in close partnership with Parliament to heal the divisions of the past few decades. Their reign was crucial in solidifying the changes brought about by the Glorious Revolution. They gave their assent to the Bill of Rights in 1689, a landmark piece of legislation that confirmed Parliament's powers, limited the authority of the monarch, and protected fundamental individual rights such as the freedom from cruel and unusual punishment. This act ensured that never again could a king or queen rule by decree alone. They also passed the Toleration Act, which granted freedom of worship to non-Anglican Protestants, a significant step toward religious liberty. Together, William and Mary focused on bringing stability and fairness to the kingdom. Their cooperative approach to governance helped to define the modern relationship between the Crown and Parliament, creating a system of balanced government and democratic principles that remains a cornerstone of Britain's political life. The last of the Stuart monarchs was Queen Anne, Mary's younger sister. She ascended the throne in 1702 and is often remembered for her quiet dignity and sound judgment, despite suffering from poor health throughout her life and enduring immense personal tragedy. She presided over a period of remarkable achievement and national consolidation. Her greatest political legacy was the Act of Union of 1707. This historic treaty formally joined the kingdoms of England and Scotland into a single unified nation, Great Britain. A single parliament at Westminster would now represent the whole island, and trade barriers between the two nations were removed. This union unlocked new economic opportunities, and Great Britain began to emerge as a major European power. The era, known as the Augustan Age, was also a time of great cultural flourishing. Science, led by figures like Sir Isaac Newton, continued to advance, while writers such as Jonathan Swift and Alexander Pope produced literary masterpieces. When Queen Anne died in 1714 without any surviving children, the Stuart line came to an end, following the terms of the Act of Settlement, which ensured a Protestant succession. The crown was offered to her nearest Protestant relatives, the Hanoverians from Germany. The Stuart Age was a century of profound and often turbulent transformation. It began with the joining of two crowns and ended with the creation of a single nation, Great Britain. This era reshaped the monarchy, challenged the very nature of government, and forged a new British identity. The Stuarts oversaw a period of conflict and revolution, but also of incredible intellectual discovery and artistic creativity. Through it all, they laid the groundwork for the constitutional monarchy and parliamentary democracy that endure today. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Stuart dynasty. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories from history. In our next episode, we'll meet the new royal family that took the throne, the Hanoverian kings and queens, and explore an age of empire, industry, invention, and progress. We'll see you then.